right, so I'm making a new il2 video, and I decided to go ahead and start from the beginning because I found some issues where you may be trying to get the results, but you're not getting them. And so we're going to go through that. I have the panel up right now, and I'm also going to go over NVIDIA Profile Inspector, and I'm going to explain a couple different things. There's also some videos that I'm going to pull up later and go over those too. So I'm treating this as though I have not done anything with IL2. If you want to do the more advanced version of it, the better way to do that is with the NVIDIA Control Profile Inspector. So I'm opening this up and I'm going to go into it. So when you open up, and there's a video I'll post on how to install this, you're going to go in and you're going to type in IL2, and you're going to notice when you type it in, like for example, here's IL2 Great Battles. When I first did this, I saw an IL2.exe, an IL2 Sturmovik, an IL2, all kinds of different versions in here, and there were different profiles from different periods where I had maybe installed, and it somehow got left on my profiles in there. So I deleted them all, and then what I did is created a new profile and I typed in IL2 Sturmovik Great Battles. Once you've got that there, you can go in and you can say add application to a current profile, and you'll be able to pick that profile. I've already done this, so I'm not going to do it again because it will double it up. So once you have it in here, for example, and here you click it and it says, okay, yeah, this is set to il2.exe. Says the application is already running assigned to profiles, so it already knows that. So it's not a big issue there. But that's what it would do. Why is this important? Everything, which I'm going to show here in a second, that you're going to do in here also applies over here. But here's the funny thing. This is the only one that's going to show you all the profiles fairly clearly. You can also see it if you go through here. If you open this up and you see il2.exe, or let's say just il2 launcher, for example, I'm going to go ahead and I would remove this one, for example. I really don't need il2 launcher.exe. I think it's just because it sees it as an app, but it's not really set. And that one doesn't matter. You're not going to see the il2 launcher unless if you're using the Steam version, but if you aren't, that will pop up. It doesn't affect the game. It's not what this is what matters, the .exe. So I've already got everything set to basic. I haven't gone through, and I'm going to go ahead and go through and do my traditional setup. So we're not using image scaling because we're in the VR, and I'm using that, which we'll go over. The gamma blows up everything pretty bright. You don't need that. There are a lot of other things in here that do that. Let's see here. A lot of these I'm just going to go through real quick because I'm going to do it again on the other side here. It is a longer setting to do this, but I've never done a video where I go through and do each single one. Why am I turning these off and not leaving them on the default? Well, because sometimes the global changes. Also, there are two files. The game is, the Microsoft is looking at. It looks at the global, and then it's all the global. If there's a profile, it goes here. So, auto is usually default. I like the tone. I'm using normal power management because I am overclocking my chip through the NVIDIA control panel, which I'll go through and show you guys that real quick, or it's the app, I should say. High quality, so it looks good. This doesn't work with high quality on, so I just turn that off. Threaded optimization. You can leave it auto or off. I've had it off. It doesn't use it, so auto is kind of the default. It won't hurt anything. VSync is always off in VR, so that's why I'm doing this. This is not flat screen. If you want a flat screen video, big me and I might do it. I don't know. Don't fly flat screen. All right. All right, here. All right, so I just applied that. now I'm going to go back, turn this off, and reload it. It should automatically have applied all those NVIDIA to the NVIDIA control panel. So now when I go into the profiler and I open this program back up, and I go up here to find it, just type IL, is probably the fastest. There's the one I created, Sturmovik Great Battles. And now all the things I just did are showing up already, where they've gone through and, the settings are done. So all of those things are done that I just did. So I don't have to go through and try to figure out, because that's a more simplified form of this. The main things you're not going to get is like shader cache. Now, there is an easy way to do it inside the control panel if you don't want it would go through the process of getting this. You just go down to where you have your shader caches set. Let me just type S. Where is it? Here it is, shader cache drive. So use default driver. If you have a big hard drive, like over 4 gigs, or 4, terabyte or something, and you got like 400 gigs open, maybe use 100 gigabytes. I just use 10 because I have like a couple big drives, but I don't need that much in there. And you can set it to that, but now that's just going to open up your shader cache size globally for everything, right? And the generic is like 4 or something, like as you saw there. So that's one option. I noticed here under IL2, if you noticed, it doesn't offer the shader cache options in here, which I thought was kind of bizarre that they would allow some of these features in the global settings, which you could do. And it's kind of weird that they just don't offer that. So anyway, let's just leave that alone. I don't want to apply anything there because I'm not doing that now. All right, so here's where I do it. I just go in and I just like to set it for IL2 because I don't need 10 gigs of shader cache on every game I load up or program. The other one that's interesting is if you go down here. Okay, so you'll be under Other, which is halfway down, and it has what's called memory allocation policy. On this, it says as needed. I like to give it a little bit more legroom because Microsoft is trying to be really moderate. So I've tried aggressive, pretty heavy on the frame lag, but when I kept it at moderate, it basically allows that memory allocation for the IL2 to kind of have a little more priority on some stuff, which is important when you're trying to prevent data lag. So main changes I did was, again, the memory, which you cannot do in the traditional, and the traditional control panel, I should say. And I also just set to 10 gigs, which there is a bounce around, which I showed you by just doing the global. Again, if you don't want to go through all these steps. So if you're not doing all the steps, just go into the global, set it to a 10, or if you have a big, huge drive, set it to 100. But other than that, all of the other settings are applied. Very important, whether you're using this or you're only using the traditional control panel, that the files are not more than one for IL2, and that you don't overlap them, because it's causing a lot of issues. You have multiple profiles telling the game what to do. So again, you want to make sure they all line up and that they match, and that you don't have any additional. You can just remove the additional ones when you see them. It does pop up. And then like this one is a default, so it's not going to let me remove it because it's just showing stuff, and it's not really linked either. That's why it's not letting me remove it, because I don't have it linked to anything. I mean, yeah, it knows this. It's just not a program that matters. Where if I was picking a different program that did matter, like DCS, which I haven't gone back in, so all of these settings are here because I haven't gone back in. I just did a new driver install and it's clean, so I have to go back and do all my settings for that particular game. And it doesn't matter which game you leave it on. You could be on Hell Let Loose, whatever game you're playing, and then all it matters is that when you're doing the IL2 setup, that you're in the this one. Okay, and then you hit the apply and you're done. All right, so those are done. So that's the main thing. If you're looking at the graphics side, here's another little feature that's popping up. Go down in here. Here it says vertical sync. It'll say use 3D application. I just make sure this is set to off. I don't know why it would override, but I noticed that this wasn't matching. And I just make sure everything else is the way I want it. RTX dynamic vibrance. On a flat screen, I think that would look pretty good. In VR, it does explode the sun a little more, so it's counterintuitive. That makes sense. All right, so now we're going to go into system. I'm just going to show you the performance. This is the AutoTuning. It's a basic overdrive, basically overclocking. The main thing it's going to let you do is it allows you to cap your temperature on your GPU and the maximum power performance allowed by the GPU. And then it goes through and it does the overclocking. This takes a while, so if you're going to do this, make sure you have some time and at least an hour to go do something else while the system runs. Make sure nothing else is running in the background. You have everything turned off. You're not doing anything. And also screensavers, if they pop on real quick or the screen goes to sleep, that can kind of disrupt this. So make sure you turn all those to like at least 3 hours or 4 hours, and then go back to your normal default once you're done doing this particular setup for that. But that does help. The main thing is that if you're not at maximum performance or temperature, if the temperature is at default, which is about 80, and it hits, so what it's going to do is start throttling your FPS in the game to prevent it to getting over the higher temperature. And it's also going to hold back on the power. So you're going to get a lot of throttling in the game, which you do not want to have for that in general. Once you turn it on, though, there is no way to go and turn it right off and back on again. I haven't had any problems running this. Like I said, it's by NVIDIA. You're not doing any like world-breaking stuff. There is a way to manually do your fans. I don't recommend doing that. The automatic seems to run fine. I haven't had any issues. I have liquid cool on my main CPU, and then the GPU is well ventilated with my case, so I haven't had any overheating issues, nothing. And this is really, think of it just running the vehicle at like, or anything else. It's just you're running it a little bit hotter, but it doesn't damage it. And you can check that on the forums with NVIDIA. It doesn't void the warranty. That's why I use it too. So that's all done. There's no other bigger settings here. This is just basic stuff. And just to make sure that's all done, I hit apply. And then I get out of here, and then we're going to go back into some other things. Now, for those who haven't already gone through my videos on OpenXR Toolkit, make sure that you do go through the OpenXR Toolkit settings. Like you said, he did this as a project. It's not really much going on right now, so it hasn't been any major updates. But this is kind of all we got right now until somebody else comes along and makes something better. So it goes through the whole setup and what your settings are going to be, and I'll go through those in the game for the best settings when I do the in-game stuff. The other thing you'll want to make sure everybody is using is Open Composite. Actually, no, there is an update today, and I saved it. So if you're using Steam VR, you have the quick, easy option to switch back and forth between Steam and here. So if you're playing a Steam game or Open Composite game, I use it as Open Composite. It just goes straight through. Otherwise, it's using some bloatware through Steam. You don't really need that. So I'm just going to go ahead and update this. That's all done. And I check that probably once a week, whenever I think about it, to be honest. You never know when I don't pay attention to the forms. Earlier, I did go through and delete all my DirectX cache. I'll post a video on cleaning your caches. So if you ever had any issues, disk cleanup is your friend. You can just go in, you'll be able to go down and you'll see your DirectX shader cache files here, and you can say, oh, I want to clean those. I just get rid of all the garbage. It'll help if you're getting any issues with like lag in the game, but it's going to rebuild all those caches. So when you load up the game, it'll be a little slower the first time getting into a server, but once it's in there, that makes a big difference. You'll probably want to go into your co-op files for IL2 and clean out any of your co-op files too if you're going to be doing that. I just thought about that, so just go ahead and do that. That's going to traditionally be located under C, program file 86. Wherever you have the game installed, you'll know. It's under data, and then here we have multiplayer. You have your all of them listed. You have your dogfights and underdog fights, like for example, here's Alonso's and Apollo's. There's one of two ways you can do. I just like to delete the whole dogfight file. I delete it. It's gone. Here's the beautiful thing. Is it doesn't hurt anything because it reinstalls it when you launch the game. So go in and just do it this clean. Get that out of the garbage. You probably just clean out the garbage file, but I like to do that. All right. And then to show you, I just have to launch IL2 real quick. It's checking version, Now when we go back to the file, we're going to go back into C. A lot of people don't know this, so that's why I'm actually showing it. It's popped up a couple times. Oh, my brain. 1C games. L2 data. But once you load the game, it goes back and repairs it, believe me, because we're going to do that here in a second. Let's see. What other thing do we need to look at? Oh, yes. Oculus Debug Tool. The Debug Tool is kind of funny because it's actually, let me see if it'll show me where it's located quickly. No. So it's located in the in the Oculus folder. I don't want that open. Go away. Go away. God damn it. And you can't just search it here. You always have to go. So this is just garbage. This is like, here's the freaking internet. Microsoft go pound sand. This is the dumbest thing ever. I mean, most people think search, I'm searching my hard drive. No, to search your hard drive, boys and girls, now you got to go into the file. And then you got to go and you have to either manually click on the hard drive you want to look for. You could probably go up here and now search it through the C drive. But it's just like, are you for real? I know it's under program files. It's a little bit different. And we just go down to Oculus. Under Oculus, you have all your different ones, downflows. So here, software, all the different stuff that you would be downloading into the game. But it also has the debug in here. Where is it? Core data. Oh, man. I feel stupid. I like not knowing where all these are instantly. Support, that's why. I didn't see it. So under support, here's the Oculus diagnostics. And in here, you're going to find the debug tool. It's built in. So there's the all the way through. If you were tracking it, where would it be? Once you got the debug tool up, you want to go in and say restart as admin. So this way you're in admin settings. These are going to be set. If you don't do this, then you're going to run into some different issues while you're doing it. So the main one is like on the field of view, what I've noticed in IL2 is these are the basic settings. But here is another basic setting that I've overrun. So it's usually set to default for distortion and curve. I set it to high because for some reason IL2 wasn't really giving me what I wanted for the clarity when I'm looking at an object in front of me to shoot. It was causing some pretty bizarre issues, like being able to see the bullets shoot and all that kind of thing. By overriding the distortion curve to higher, it gives it more pixels, as you can see, density at the center. So it's kind of like foveated rendering, if anybody understands that concept. I did bump this up to 600 on that. I think 500 is the default. I mean, I don't even think it'll let me go to 999 anymore. Let me see. Now look at that, they let you do that now. Let's try it, whatever. All right, I'm set to a hard line. So that's one that you'll want to play with. That's about it. Now, another one is if you haven't had the ability, my screen resolution, I found that 1080p to be the best, 1920 by 1080p, as far as doing the upsampling that we'll be doing in game later when I show you that. So, in order for that to work, we're going to have to go ahead and load up the MetaQuest, I believe turn on my headset, and launch the stupid game here.
All right, so yeah, I'm recording in the headset, which probably has no sound. So if you can't hear me, I apologize. So I'm going into the control performances. I'm still using CIS. You can play with the sharpness, which I haven't had a chance to since I've done some setting updates, which actually looks pretty damn good. Contrast, it's just like a TV. 50 is neutral for everything. Sometimes I'll turn it down on certain maps because there's too much sun or snow or whatever. All right. So this is all the default is 50. 0 on the bottom, starting with vibrance, highlights, and shadows. So highlights and vibrance are the opposite. So 100% is going to give you a lot. 0% turns it off. 50 is neutral. So if you can kind of see, even with the highlights. Shadows is the other way. It gets darker when you go to 0. It gets lighter when you go up, 50 being the neutral. And then, of course, you have your quick sets to go through. Play with each one of those. Not using any of that. Systems, yes, you want to do the override. And that's currently what I'm using. Just it doesn't really have a rhyme or reason. It just needs to be upset from 1900 by 1800, and that's what I'm doing. I've increased some stuff here, and then basic settings there if you want to look at that. So that's that. I'm actually going to get out of the game now, and let me see. There's a couple other settings here you can do pretty quickly. That's the sharpen. So let me say if I turn the sharpen on and I say accept, it's going to automatically give me the sharpening. Oh, no, cancel. Graphics, please tell me that did not happen. Okay, yeah, good. Oh, yeah, thank God for that. Let me recenter this. Where is the... So I'm using MSAA, as you guys will see, and I'll go through some of this later. But the sharpening is nice because you can turn it on, and what that does, it just adds a little bit thicker black layer to everything. You're going to play with and see what's better for you. Sometimes that's good, and sometimes you're like, nah, I'm not really happy with that. It's giving me too much edging on the roads or whatever, and I don't like the way it looks. But that's the difference. It puts an edge on all the roads, all the buildings, all the planes. It makes the dots a little bigger, but that's that. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick video on the Oculus software settings. One of the things you should be looking at is what is the graphics set in your card. I found these settings were the best for visuals. It wasn't so. Let's give you an example. The worst case. Let's say you were running it at max, so everyone understands what's happening. You're going to be shrinking. Yes, you're adding more pixels, but you're also shrinking all the objects and dots to fit into this pixel rating. It ends up making it really hard to see the planes far, far away because those dots become significantly smaller. Um, and it's still running the game what you had it set into your startup file, but you're oversampling. You're forcing the VR to try to run it up here in your settings. So you don't want to do that because it's basically upsampling. I recommend. I'm using this and I found that to be pretty good. I've gone down to here. It gets a little, it doesn't look so eye candy wise for here. That was good for me. You could go all the way down to here. You're still above 1080p, 1980 by 1080p. But you definitely want to see what looks best for you. You know, is the game crisp and clear enough? And are you maintaining the 90 FPS um, through the whole setting? Um, and that's very, very important. If I was going to choose, let's say this was the best and it was killing me a little bit on FPS, I was dropping down into the low 80s, I would just stick it to 80 FPS and try to keep it higher if I really wanted the eye candy. But 90 FPS seems to be the best. For gameplay, gives less headaches, etc. But again, it comes down to your system, and I have 64 gigs of RAM. I have a DDR3 chip. It's an older one, the 58 series, and I have a good 4800 GPU. So again, all of those things, it does help for all of that. So that's another one you want to look at, and you know, let me know what you think in the lobby. I hope this helps a lot of people. I didn't go super in depth, but I wanted to have enough so you were experiencing what I'm experiencing, and then if there's any improvements from there, we can talk about things in the future. But this is what I found after having the Meta Quest for since March. I believe I got the Quest 3, so it's been a while that I've had it, and this is what I've come out with. Pretty much the best settings effective November 13th, 2024. So I hope you enjoy it and have a great day.